If you want to buy a two-room flexi but BTO prices are too expensive, well, there's actually a legal way to get a discount. And surprisingly, not that many people know how to get this discount. And by the way, if you're single seniors are also eligible to get this discount. So in this video, I'm going to discuss how to pay less for your two-room flexi BTO, who are eligible to buy one, and what are the pros and cons that you need to consider before applying. When it comes to BTO in Singapore, most of us automatically think of the standard 99-year lease. But actually, to help Singaporeans at different stages of life, HDB allows you to buy a shorter lease instead, which ranges from 15 to 45 years in 5-year increment. And the price saving can be quite staggering. Let's take Berlayar Rise for an example. Two-room Flexi Type 2 in Berlayar Rise starts from $296,000 up to $406,000. But if you buy shorter lease, as you can see here, let's say if you take 15 years, the price is only $99,000 up to $136,000, and this is before any grant. If let's say you take longer period, let's say you take 45 years, the price goes down to $177,000 up to $243,000. Because you're buying fewer years on the lease, the cost of the flat is significantly lower than a standard 99-year leasehold. This makes housing more affordable. Sounds good, right? But of course, as everything in life, terms and conditions apply. So now let's talk about eligibility. So what flat type is available to buy a shorter lease? At the moment, this is only applicable for two-room flexi, but it doesn't matter whether it's two-room flexi in standard, plus, or prime projects. To ensure that this scheme helps those who need it the most, HDB has set very specific eligibility criteria. Unlike the standard 99-year two-room flexi flats which are open to younger single buyers aged 35 and above, the short lease version is unfortunately explicitly reserved for seniors. Basically, you must be 55 years old or older at the time of application. Other than that, the lease length that you chose must be long enough to cover you and your co-buyer, if any, until you're at least 95 years old. Both first-time buyers and second-time buyers who have owned an HDB flat before are welcome to apply. Now you might be wondering, can singles apply? Yes, single applicants age 55 and above are eligible to apply. You don't need to be married or part of a traditional family nucleus to secure a short lease home. Depending on your preference, there are two ways to apply as a single senior. Number one is applying as a solo single. If you apply on your own under the Single Singapore Citizen Scheme, you enjoy the exact same short lease benefits. Regarding the lease requirement, as mentioned, you need to choose a lease length that is enough to cover you until you're at least 95 years old. So for example, if you are right now 55 years old, then the minimum lease should be at least 40 years. If you are 65 years old, then you can choose a shorter lease of 30-year lease. Regarding income ceiling, this is where things gets interesting. The gross monthly income ceiling is $14,000 for the short lease option. Now you might be wondering whether I misspoke. Am I sure it's 14,000 and not 7,000? Well, I double-checked the HDB website and I asked AI, and it said that the income ceiling is $14,000 for short lease flat even if you're applying as a single applicant. This is because the government wants to allow seniors who might have had higher incomes during their peak working years to still legally right-size into a smaller affordable home and sell their larger property and cash out their net worth for retirement. If you prefer to apply with someone else, actually you can pair up with an unrelated single friend or partner. This falls under the joint singles scheme where HDB allows up to 4 unrelated singles to apply together. But of course, you need to meet other criteria such as all co-applicants must be Singapore citizens, age 55 or older, and all individuals in the application must be unmarried, divorced, or widowed. And then regarding the lease, the short lease you choose together must cover the youngest applicant until at least age 95. So for example, let's say you're 60 and your friend is 56. Then the lease must be calculated based on your 56-year-old friend, meaning you would need to opt for at least a 40-year lease. Regarding income ceiling, your combined gross monthly household income must still fit within the $14,000 limit. Now let's talk about how the payment process works because it's actually quite different. Regarding application process, it still follows the typical HDB's BTO or SBF process. However, when it comes to payment, there are few unique rules when you are dealing with a short lease flat. Number one, for payment method, you must pay for the flat fully using cash, your CPF, or a combination of both. And then second is that you cannot use any housing loans. Because the lease is short and meant specifically for retirement years, HDB or bank loans are not available for these purchases. And then for those who chose to sell a larger existing flat to buy a two-room flexi unit, the difference in value can go directly into their retirement funds, providing extra monthly income. And next, let's talk about when do you choose your lease length. A common question that many applicants have is when do you exactly need to lock in this decision to buy a shorter lease instead of a full 99-year? So you basically pick your lease length during your flat booking appointment at HDB Hub, assuming that you managed to successfully get a ballot number. Basically, when you sit down with the HDB officer to pick your unit, then that is when you need to state your preferred lease length from 15 to 45 years. And then HDB will calculate the exact prorated price of your chosen flat based on that specific lease duration, allowing you to sign the booking documents with full clarity on the final cost. Now let's talk about the pros and cons, starting with the pros first. What I like about this option is that it gives you a peace of mind. Because the lease is shorter, then the purchase price is also much lower. A short lease two-room flexi flat can cost significantly less than a standard flat, allowing seniors to own a home safely without heavy financial strain. The second thing that I like is because this approach can unlock your retirement funds. For seniors currently living in a larger home that feels too quiet or requires too much upkeep, right-sizing to a two-room flexi flat can be an excellent option. Selling a larger flat and buying a cheaper, short lease home allows residents to top up their CPF retirement account or keep the extra cash for daily expenses and healthcare. The third thing that I like is that this approach is senior-friendly. So for short lease units, HDB includes built-in senior-friendly features such as grab bars in the bathrooms, slip-resistant flooring, and pre-installed kitchen cabinets and wardrobe so you can move in with minimum renovation hassle. But on the other hand, there are some trade-offs that you need to consider. The first thing that you need to take note of is that there's no resale or rental value. A short lease flat is strictly meant for owner occupation. You cannot sell the flat on the open market resale, and you also cannot rent out the whole flat. If your life situation changes and you no longer wish to live there, then the flat must be returned to HDB and they will offer a prorated compensation based on the remaining lease. And then second point is that this flat cannot be left as part of inheritance. Because the lease is closely tied to your own lifespan, it cannot be passed down to children or family members as a real estate asset. If the owner or the last surviving co-owner passes away before the lease ends, then the executors of the estate will return the flat to HDB for a prorated refund. And then another downside is that it comes with very strict financing requirements. As mentioned earlier, you cannot take out a mortgage loan for a short lease flat. Buyers must ensure that they have enough liquid cash or CPF savings upfront to cover the full purchase price. In summary, is this the right move for you? I think the short lease two-room flexi flat is a highly practical housing option. It views a home not as a financial investment to grow wealth, but as a safe, comfortable, and affordable place to live out your golden years. If your goal is to pass down a property to the next generation or wait for capital gains, then the typical 99-year lease or a resale flat remains a better option. However, if your priority is to optimize your retirement cash flow, minimize household chores, and live comfortably without housing debt, then this scheme offers a highly reliable blueprint for the peace of mind. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye. To support my work, you can give a one-time tip by pressing the thanks button, pick the amount that you want, and click buy and send. Or you can also press the join button for exclusive contents and monthly membership. Your support means a lot to keep us independent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.